Tarzan has retreated to his lair in the country much of the time, and it was there that I found him earlier. I began by asking him whether the mainstream parties should listen to UKIP voters.
Well, you should always listen, but of course you should interpret what they've said. And what I see very clearly is that people have had a terrible time. And the consequences have been very painful, and for many people still are. People find a focal point of their discontent.
So you think they're a flash in the pan?
Not as dramatically as you put it, because Euroscepticism has been there from the very beginning. It's a huge change in Britain's destiny. And so it will remain. But if you say to me, are they going to be a major force in the next general election, the answer is no.
But they have clearly repudiated a particular enthusiasm of yours, haven't they?
Well, you see, you have to interpret, what are they repudiating?
Well, they're repudiating the European Union.
No, I don't believe that.
Oh, really?
No. I mean,
well, why do you think people have voted for UKIP?
Because it's the place to go to protest about certain things that have been happening, which they associate with Europe. But the real problem is the recession. And whenever you get a recession of this sort, election results, midterm election results, find a protest point. Used to be the Lib Dems.
But UKIP didn't make any running about the recession. They made a great deal of hay with the question of immigration, which they attributed to the EU.
But the concern about immigration, which again is a complex issue, been there for a long time, is a problem of recession. Because the argument was, all these foreigners taking our jobs.
Do you think immigration's been good for this country?
Hugely good. Throughout the centuries. I mean, we have been the gateway for wave after wave of huge talent. And do you know one of the big problems we face in this country today? Skills shortage. And where are you going to get them from? It's quite naive to say, oh, they're all on the unemployed levels and they'll all come back to work. The unemployed do not have the skills of a modern demand economy.
But surely the Conservatives would have done better in this election if they had honoured their pledge to bring down immigration to 100,000 people a year.
If it could be done, which they are trying hard to do, and I've got no complaints at all. Indeed, if I was a member of the government, I would try to help in that particular view.
How do you propose they go forward?
Oh, well, the first thing is don't lose keep your nerve. That's the first thing. Secondly, George Osborne has played a blinder in coinciding economic recovery with political context. We're now seeing the economy recover, but as yet not rising living standards as a consequence. But from now on in, you're going to find a tightening labour market, you'll find rising wages, and you will find rising living standards, which will coincide with the election.
Do you think that Cameron should bring forward the deadline by which there will be a referendum on future membership of the EU?
Certainly not.
Why not?
Because getting an agreement at all will be hard. But to think you can stampede 27 other countries into agreeing what you want in a matter of months and get the legislation through and all of that is simply wrong and irresponsible. He would be crazy to do either of two things. First is to try and rush it, because that will just create alienation on the continent. Secondly, to bow to what people are now demanding, which is tell us exactly what you're going to demand.
So in sum, your view is, hold your nerve, don't worry about this. It's an expression of anxiety and discomfort that people feel as a consequence of economic circumstances.
If you look at it all, this is about recession.
You don't think that UKIP voters are racists?
I think there are racists amongst them. I noticed the National Front has disappeared, so where's it gone? I've heard enough speeches by UKIP members to make me wince with embarrassment. But of course they will try to keep themselves away from association of the ideas.
You don't think there ought to be an electoral pact between the Conservatives and UKIP at the next election?
What, split the Tory Party? Been mad.
Well, it wouldn't necessarily split the Tory Party. It could be done constituency by constituency, couldn't it?
But the principle that the Tory Party is associated with the sort of undercover approach and attitudes of much of the UKIP party would be quite unacceptable to a huge swathe of the moderate One Nation Conservative
Would it be acceptable to you?
No.
So if you do, I take it you don't have a vote now because you're a member of the House of Lords.
That makes life very easy.
But if you still had a vote, you couldn't bring yourself to vote Conservative if there were a pact.
It would be very difficult. It would be very difficult. Now here I'm doing the political thing, because what would I do? Sit on my bottom and not vote? Vote Labour, vote Lib Dem? Well, I couldn't do that. So what do? Opt out? It would be very difficult. And that's so much better to tell you the truth now and to do all in my power to support the official Tory position. There'll be no pact there. David Cameron made it quite clear. William Hague, George Osborne, they're absolutely right.
No pact under any circumstances.
Under any circumstances.
Michael Heseltine, thank you very much.
Thank you.